Masters on CBS.
That's right, the Masters in full swing at DeChambeau -7 through 17. And joining us now is the sports professor, Rick Horrow, who I believe is there in Augusta. Is that true? Are you at the Augusta?
On the ground, this is a little bit of borrowed time. I'm actually at a place where I know the reception is good, but I'm not quite sure I can be here legally. So
yeah, so
we're okay.
How is it? And I'll talk. I won't talk loud here. How is it that
I don't care.
How is it that you have a cell phone on the grounds?
Well, that's part of the issue. No, it has to do with what a credential allows you to do and what it doesn't. But yesterday, it was funny because it's a day where you could bring cameras in. Today, you can't bring anything in. You can't bring, your own shirts in. You can't bring anything. But yesterday, you see the neophytes. Those are the people who, 3 times, they bring all of their stuff early and they walk around with it, all the $700 of merchandise. The cool people check it early, so you know that. The second is women walking around in high heels.
Yeah.
It might be nice to look at, but it's the rookies. And the third is these cameras. You couldn't bring in a cell phone camera, but you can bring in a normal camera. So people brought out their old Polaroids. Remember the old Polaroids?
Wow.
Yeah.
This white thing came out the bottom, and then you waited, and people were shaking it up and down to see what was happening. It was really bizarre.
So, Rick, you brought up the merch tent, and I'd read today it makes $1 million an hour, $16,000 a minute, and $277 every second. Is there anything in any sport that does that well?
Yeah, and we don't know if that's official. I've been using that too. But
yeah,
that's the Augusta folks will hate you if you use that, but then they won't give you any numbers. And no, the answer is you can't do an equivalent amount of personal pocketbook financial damage in any other sporting event. I mean, I have the receipt to prove it. I was going to frame it and put it in my separate bedroom, but I no longer have any money to buy a frame. So.
Hey, will we see the day that we'll get to watch all the coverage from Thursday through Sunday? This morning you get up, I watched the ceremonial, and then you got to wait a few hours unless you want to go online to watch it live. I just think they're doing a disservice to not allow it to be on ESPN or Golf Channel or what have you.
They're obviously trying to slowly increase the appetite of the coverage, and some would say it's pretty arrogant. I'm certainly not going to say that given my current location.
Yeah.
I love the Masters, ladies and gentlemen. I love the Masters, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
Anybody that wants to hear it. But at the end of the day, they have a little more net coverage than they did last year. But it's drops. What you have been doing is if people get familiar enough with the internet and going online, it's pretty easy to find stuff online. Masters.com and ESPN and all. So they're doing a good job of driving everything online. And if you want to watch somebody that you like, look at the app. I mean, I'm not Fred Ridley's hawk on all of this. I'll tell him something that I don't like, and he'll take it seriously because we're friends. But the app is spectacular. And if you want, every shot of everybody's, the app tells you what you want to know. Now, the lazy man watching on TV, I'm hoping there's a day, but then he would be the first to say, well, that would make it less special if we could see everything. Yeah, that you used to say that with the NFL in 1958. So we'll have to see.
Hey, Rick, I've got a question. Have you run into Greg Norman at all? Because all of the reports is he had to buy a ticket. They would not give him a credential to get in. And where are you right now on the LIV and PGA Tour still trying to negotiate something?
Yeah, well, I haven't seen him. It may be because he never carries cash, and they may not have honored his credit card. So he may be out there by the gate trying to hawk. I have no idea where he is. But I will say that the kumbaya between all of these guys at the top level has been amazing for 3 days. Being around, there's very little talk other than the media stirring it up about LIV and PGA Tour. But I do think as a result of how amazing these majors are and how people really want to see the best players in the world playing each other, it's not a question of if any longer, but when. But then again, they hugged it out last year and said, we're going to do it. And the devil has been in the details for a long time. So I guess we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But, when you look at the leaderboard, I mean, it's interesting because DeChambeau looks like he's going to be, I'm just watching it in the monitor in the place I shouldn't be watching. All right, good. He missed a putt, so he's coming back to the field.
Rick Horrow for just another 2 minutes here on Rock and Minuch with Jimmy B. We know he's nice enough to join us from Augusta. And nothing has changed when it comes to food prices. $1.50 for a cheese sandwich. Nothing's over $3. That's still the case this year. Do you think there will ever be a professional sports franchise that could kind of maybe copy what the Masters has done and had so much success and have a reputation of, the food and beer is so inexpensive?
Arthur Blank wanted to do that with the Falcons last year, and he tried it for a couple of games. And then I assumed he looked at the revenue reports and said, where we ought to be. The trick this year, I didn't know if you know, but they're charging $1.50 for pimento cheese. But if you want a packet of mustard, it's $17.50.
I'm sure. Are we the first one you use that on yet, or have you used that 5-6 hits already?
No, this is number 7.
That's awesome, Rick. We know we knew you only had a few minutes, man. Thanks, man. It means a lot to us for you to jump on, especially from Augusta.
Hey, you guys are great, and we'll talk next week at a normal time.
You got it. That's okay. Rick Horrow, the sports professor, live from Augusta.
That was great.
We don't know where, as if you're media, you can bring in a phone. But otherwise, you cannot.
He was at covert operations. Matter of fact, he's got a couple meetings. He got one here at the bottom here, and that's why we had a few minutes. But he's got those big meetings, corporate meetings got going on, which he does a great job of. And I said, all we need is 10 minutes. He goes, I got it.
So with Augusta National, they had weather delays today, caused a 2.5 hour delay to start it. There was all this talk of showers, thunderstorms, winds up to 40 miles an hour. It looks like it is pretty brisk up there with winds, but they did have the honorary starter ceremony this morning at about 7:10 our time. And then the first tee time got off at 10:30 instead of 8 o'clock. So we'll see a backup here, especially if we see some more weather conditions. They're doing a lot of talk about the wind, and they've had some really windy tournaments over the years. It's not quite as bad as they've had back, many years ago, but it still can become an issue.
Well, they had a huge storm, was it 5 or 6 years ago, you're alluding to, Rock, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. Matter of fact, they did a timeout with the winds for like 2 hours till they, pardon the pun, blew over, so to speak.
Well, they blew over a tree,
exactly.
Tree, too.
And that's when they went, okay, let's take a timeout. But it's interesting when you talk to the players, it could be blowing, east to west, but when you get it up in the air, it can be blowing north to south. They just, the way that these guys think about their shots.
2 minutes.
There's like 4 or 5 things when the wind's blowing or whatever. Yeah, if I get it above the tree line, it's blowing south. And if I keep it below the tree line, it'll blow north or east. And they said this is a lot of the golfers, and Steve Jones can vouch for this or not, that it's one of the more mental sides of a major tournament with once the wind starts blowing.
Yeah, it's definitely, for those it's a bucket list. I know many people I talk to have always said, hey, you got to go to the Masters. And all the hype, all the talk, it is number one, hands down. I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of stuff. The only thing I haven't done is Indy 500 and Kentucky Derby. Those two I heard are quite an experience as well. But to walk on the grounds at Augusta National, you just get goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, I was fortunate to go 3 times, and just once in those 4 days. But it's such a hard damn ticket to get. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been on the list, and I never get picked even for practice rounds. And my family lives out in South Carolina and North Carolina, and they're in it every year, and they don't get selected. And even my brother-in-law's dad works on number 15 or 16 or 17. He's been doing it for like 20-something years as one of those guys that he gets paid
Yeah.
to work in the
Quiet,
crowd.
or
Yeah,
holds a sign
like an
up.
usher.
Yeah. How many people guesstimation you think are on that list, Rock? How many would you say? Over million?
Easy.
Yeah, 1.5 million easy.
Yeah, think about the Masters. They don't give attendance.
1 minute.
They don't give you numbers. You know, I remember when I was there one year, I was real curious about the domestic and import beers for $3. And I'm that guy that collected the cups.
Sure.
I'm that guy that spent all the money on shirts. And I'm the one that guy that will not buy a shirt for anybody. You know my rule there.
Oh, yeah.
It is a rule, Jimmy, that you cannot wear a Masters shirt unless you got it from the Masters. So I've had friends say, hey, bring back a shirt. No. It's what makes the place so amazing. Go get your own shirt.
Yeah.
And because, you know, you can't buy Masters gear anywhere. I mean, you look at my tag on my Masters shirt right now. It says Masters Collection.
Yeah.
You can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it so unique. But
Shows that you've been there and done that.
Yeah, that's a good point because I've gone up to some coworkers and said, "Oh, you went to the Masters," and they're like, "No, my dad did, but I bought this." And then they're like, "Oh, it's awkward."
It changes everything because, you know, I could go up to somebody. Oh, what year were you there? I was in 27. I was in 11. And you could talk about that experience because there's nothing like this. There is nothing like it. And I know for those who don't like golf, all right, then it's not for you. But it is such an amazing. You go in at 8 and you leave at 8. I mean, you're there for 12 hours. Even if that ticket costs you $2,000, break up the cost and what that value is per hour. It's not as bad as you think. Yeah. Otherwise, if going to a Super Bowl and you're there for 4 hours and you're paying a lot, you know. So anyway, it is Thursday. That means we're broadcasting live